Hey guys, so I've decided to do this the description of the description of how to work with our fiction stories in English. Although maybe it's a little confusing for some of you. So if there is anything you're not quite sure about, please do let me know. But I think it's quite cool if you also have some practice with listening to English speech, even if it's coming from me, from your humble Elisa here. And I'm going to try to talk about the second task of writing a fiction story of the second week today, and I will try to explain to you how to work with it. Now, first of all, this second story is going to be shorter than our previous story, yes? So if you just write it in 1 or 2 days, that would be really cool, because then you can have some extra time to be working on your first week's story, yeah, because some of you haven't finished that yet. So last week we had a very strict structure, right? First of all, I've given you a prompt, yes, so you had the beginning of the story, which you needed to continue. Second of all, I gave you tasks which eventually led you to creating a story that I wanted you to create. So we have, we had an antagonist and a protagonist, and we had a helper, and we had a problem, and then we had the solution, and then we had the ending, and we had 2 dialogues, and then the final dialogue. So it was very well structured, and you didn't have a lot of freedom in it. And it's actually one of the main ideas is that what really helps us boost our creativity is when we have some limits and boundaries, yes, and we can be very creative when we have very strict rules, right? So it's very important. If I just told you just write about anything, some of you would write about anything, and it would be a format that I know nothing about. Some of you would be just confused. I know I would be confused if I were just asked to write about anything. So it's important for us to stay focused on a certain and on a certain schedule, yes, within a certain structure. And it helped us learn a little bit about story rights. And yes, we learned that if we write a synopsis and we have the beginning of the story and we know what our heroes going to be, what kind of people they're going to be, or magic creatures, and what's going to be the problem, what's going to be the ending, then it's really easy to put a story together. And I'm so proud of you for completing these tasks, and it's so cool that you've managed to do it. And now this week is going to be a little different, and it's gonna you can write it freely. There is no particular structure here, but if you want, you can use the structure. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit right now. This week, you're given a name of a story, the name of your story, and the name of the story is Why Not Me? It can be anything. It can be a story of a girl who I don't know, decides that she wants to go after her dreams, because why not her? Yes, why not me? Why don't I get to achieve the goals? Or it can be anything else. Yes, you can come up with any kind. Maybe it's just a story and it ends with a phrase, why not me? Or it starts with this phrase, or anything you want. But you have to come up with an idea of why the story is named this way. Yeah? And then you're given 10 words, and all of you are given the same 10 words. And we have 3 verbs, 3 adjectives, 3 nouns, and I think, yes, we have 10 words. Maybe we have 4 adjectives. I don't know. I'm going to check. And your job is to use them somehow in your story. So how can you work with it? You have a couple of options here. You need to choose the one that works for you. Now, if it's really hard for you to work without a structure, then you can create a structure, yes, to decide that I'm going to write about a dog, a talking dog who is traveling around the magic forest, if you want to go with magic. I know that many of you don't. And just, create a story and decide, not write the story, but just create the plan of the story, the structure, the outline. And after that, when you start writing this story, just find a way to use these words. Yes, maybe it's going to be like, and suddenly he heard that someone was saying, hey, give me these nails. Yes, because we have the word nail. So you can just add it in this way, and it's not going to be super logical, but you're just going to use it somehow. You're going to try to weave it into the story in any way you possibly can. So that's one way. Excuse me. That's one way to go about it. I think that it would also be really cool if you just started to write the story without knowing where it's gonna lead you, but just trying to use these words, and maybe these words will be these little, milestones or checkpoints that will, like the dots that connect the story together, and just, you can look at these words for some time and start to create the image. Like just the fact that there are these words will help you to create some kind of image. And these are the two ways that you can work in with this story. And I know that for some of you it's going to be easier to work this way when you don't have a certain structure, but for some of you it's going to be really hard. And if it is so, just let me know, and we're going to think about how to work with it. But just this week, think about creating a complete nonsense, okay? So you can write whatever you want. You can write a story from your real life using all these 10 words, or you can write a fictional story or an essay or whatever. It's all up to you. But try to just not judge your experience. Sorry, my voice is starting to get tired a little bit. Just a second.